I play the guitar? Or is it the guitar was played by me? Today we're going to be talking about active and passive voice. Stick around. If you've been in an English class long enough, an English teacher has told you to use active verbs and to avoid passive voice. Why do they do that? They do that because they want you to communicate as clearly as possible and be the best writer that you can be. An active and passive voice is actually a really simple thing. We demonstrated it at the beginning of the video. It's about subjects and predicates and their relationship to where they are. We need the subject to be in front of the predicate in terms of making sure things are active and going as clearly as possible. The example I used earlier, I play guitar, we have the subject is in front of the predicate. But when I switch that around, things get wordy and things get complicated, and we're throwing in all kinds of things we don't really need. The guitar was played by me. That's passive voice. And you can usually indicate passive voice by a few key telltale signs. One will usually be a helping verb in front of that action verb, and two, we like to take the subject, turn it into an object, and stick it in a prepositional phrase at the end of the sentence. The guitar was played by me is a lot more complicated than I play the guitar. Today we're going to take a look at some examples and see if we can recognize when we're slipping in the passive voice and understand how to correct it and get things back active. So let's take a look at how we can make this better and use active and sometimes passive voice correctly. Here are two sentences like we had in the starting example today. I teach a writing course, and a writing course is taught by me. Now, one of these is much more direct. Let's look at why. The first thing we need to do to work on active and passive voice is identify the action or the predicate to know what's happening in the sentence. In this case, the action in the first sentence is teach, and the second sentence we have is taught. Now notice that these do look different, and one of them has a helping verb with it. Is, in this case, is a helping verb. We also need to ask who or what is doing the action. Who is doing the teaching? Well, in the first sentence, I am doing the teaching, and in the second sentence, it's me. Now, if you think about this, I is a subject form, and me is an object form. You wouldn't say me went to the store, so obviously that's not the subject of the sentence as we're working out here. We would like the person or thing that's doing the action to be in front of the predicate. The first example here is active voice and is very direct and clear spoken. The second example, well, it's a little wordy and probably isn't what we should do. The second example is passive voice. Let's take a look at more examples. Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth. So if we want to figure out if this is active or passive voice, there are a few steps we can take. Step one, what is the predicate? What is the action that's happening here? Well, in this case, it's obviously shot. The second question you need to ask, who or what is doing the action? Are they before the predicate or after? Well, in this case, Lincoln didn't shoot himself. He was shot by John Wilkes Booth, so John Wilkes Booth did the shooting. Notice that John Wilkes Booth is after the predicate, and also it's stuck in a prepositional phrase behind the preposition by. And that's really a telltale sign of passive construction. Step three, is there a helping verb with the predicate? Well, in this case, there is. It's was shot by John Wilkes Booth. These are all signs of passive voice. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we change the sentence to active voice to make this more direct and put the blame where it really belongs on John Wilkes Booth, not on Lincoln? This is what it looks like. John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln. It's very direct. It's very straightforward. Notice that we brought the person or thing who's doing the action to the front of the sentence in front of the predicate. We also eliminated that helping verb was because we don't need it. Also, we didn't need the prepositional phrase at the end. We've made things more direct and we've eliminated wordiness in our sentence. Take a look at this sentence. The votes were counted. Let's go through the same process. Step one, what is the predicate or action? Well, in this case, it's counted. Step two, who did the counting? Now, if you look here, it doesn't say who did the counting. This is still passive voice. And in your work today, you're going to see sentences that are like this, and we need to recognize that they are passive. In order to make it active, well, we need to know who is doing the counting, and we need to put them in front of the predicate. And it would look like this. The committee counted the votes.
Notice there's no helping verb in front of counted, and we don't have that prepositional phrase afterwards where our subject is stuck. We put committee in front of counted to make sure we know who's doing the action and the sentence is as direct as possible. So when working today, be sure to remember: identify the predicate or the action, identify who or what is doing the action, and bring the thing or person doing the action in front of the predicate to use active voice.
I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you put it to use in your writing. Please make sure to try to use those active voice verbs whenever possible and eliminate passive voice when you can. Have a good one.